All right. So good evening, everyone. My name is Chaz Davis, and I'm here with Kyle Robidoux. Work for the Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, as well as United in Stride. And so we really want to work on improving United in Stride and programming and things along those lines. And so before we start, I just want to let everyone know that we are recording this meeting just so that we can share this information with people that weren't able to join tonight. So just want to give you a heads up on that. And, so tonight our goal is really to learn about accessing the treadmill. And I know that for me, when I first became blind 6 years ago and started using the treadmill, I found it really difficult. And there are a lot of barriers that I just wouldn't have expected. And, of course, there are some workarounds, but it took me some time to find those workarounds. So, I'm hoping with this discussion, we can all learn from one another. And, to start things off, we have a few pretty good speakers, and they have quite an extensive background, not only in running, but also with using the treadmill and other fitness and tracking devices. And so we have Randy Pierce, who just recently completed a 54K as a nod to the great Teddy Bruschi of the New England Patriots. And he did that on the treadmill. So that's very impressive. We have Jessie Brennan, who's also from New Hampshire. And, she's going to be becoming an Iron Woman in not too long from now. And then we also have Deb Conley and hopefully Luann Burke as well, who are both based in Colorado. And Deb is a key advocate in the world of adaptive sports and pertaining to, blind and visually impaired runners. And so we're just going to start off by hearing from them. They'll tell a little bit about their experience with using the treadmill and different devices. And then between each person, we'll have a little bit of time for some questions and answers as well. And then we'll open up the floor to all of you, because I'm sure that you all have some valuable insight to add. And, I hope to learn from you all as well. So we'll kick it off with Randy Pierce, and he'll tell us a bit about his experience.
All right. Thanks, Chaz. First off, can everybody hear me? Hopefully I unmuted successfully.
Yeah.
Great. So I am totally blind. So coming onto the treadmill, I think for all of us, what we have to evaluate is what is the first parts of our challenges. And along with my blindness, I also have a pretty severe balance challenge, which increases that. So the first thing I had to do was get comfortable that I could be on a treadmill and feel stable. And the two things you can adapt are you can adapt the treadmill and you can adapt yourself. And there are different things I did from a physical therapy standpoint to get more comfortable with the moving aspects. But the primary thing is to work your way up. So are the handrails in a comfortable spot? Could I adapt those by putting a little bit of PVC foam on the handles so that I'm holding onto something else? And different treadmills have different requirements. Now I'm 6'4", so I'm a pretty tall guy. That means I've got good arm length to get some comfort. But different treadmills have made me make those physical adaptations in different ways. I wanted to start out walking because I kept clipping the sides or clipping the front in the early stages. And as I picked up speed, I found I always want a hand in contact. How do I do that without getting my arm to get uncomfortable? Well, I want my arm ideally to have as much natural motion as possible. And one of the ways I could do that until I built up my arm strength was by having it able to slide in a steady pattern along the rail. And I did that initially by using, by picking at the YMCA the right treadmill for me, but also by using PVC pipe foam to adapt it, to make sure that I had something I could slide along, much as I run with a rigid tether instead of a soft tether. So first thing was getting comfortable on that and working slow like anything, right? Stage up so that I could start out getting more and more comfortable until those clips on the sides happened less and less often. Learn things like mostly the back of a treadmill will squeak when you get close to it. I wanted to at slow speeds hear that, feel that. And then if the treadmill, a couple of them ended up where I could clip the front without noticing it, I could put one of those I say it's a PVC pipe foam. You could use a pool noodle. I can put one of those in the front so that my leg will hit that before my foot is going to clip anything I don't want it to. So I get a tactile warning of these things. So those were the easy adaptations. And now, you know, I run all levels of speed on the treadmill pretty comfortably in that range. I'm not quite at Chaz speeds, but I have put a 520 mile on it. So I can get moving pretty quick when I want to on it. The next question is, how do you adapt to the treadmill so that you can run it? And ideally, right, we find treadmills with buttons. And, you know, when I bought my own treadmill, I was very deliberate about finding one that had enough of those so that I wouldn't be playing too much with buttons. I use a Nordic Track commercial 2450. Black Friday deals got it down to something more reasonable, but it has both a touch screen, which is mostly, but not entirely useless to me, but it also has tactile buttons, which I'm very able to use. And these, I use a clay glue stick. It's called Sugru. I put the link into the chat window earlier, but I can send that out to Chaz if people want it. And this is clay that you can mold into any shape you want, and it has an adhesive. Once you open a package, you've got to use it because after that it hardens. But you can actually make shapes for any of the different points you want on it. So in the case of my treadmill, you know, speed up, speed down, elevation up, elevation down, and then all the different speed settings have different markers. So I can one button touch it to make it go, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles an hour in a single button push. So all of those, the tactile additions, even though the buttons have some tactile to them, this just made it easy so I could do it while running hard. And the last thing I'll say on that screen is, obviously, you know, I use adaptive equipment to give me some ability to use the screen, you know, things like IRA, things like Be My Eyes, but I simplify it by using the iFit program and running it either from my computer or my phone to get favorites set up so we can make that easier. Is it ideal? Absolutely not, right? I wish those programs would be accessible, and I certainly work with them, hoping they'll change at some point, but it's enough that it can work. And the primary way I do it when I use a program is I use the Seeing Eye wife to help me. But there's a fail safe for all those times when that's not a possibility. So after adapting those, that's how you take care of the physical aspects to be able to be on it and be running. Then I had a couple of things like, how do I get my data? How do I know what I'm doing? And while I may know what the buttons are, sometimes I've hit the wrong button and I need to double check. And sometimes the treadmills just aren't reporting speeds quite the same. I'm also a bigger guy, which means the motor's working a little harder. I use a device called Stride, which is STRYD. It's a little foot pod, which is a tiny little device that I actually have in my hand that clips onto my shoe. I know Jesse uses it now as well, but it clips onto my shoe. It connects into my Apple Watch, and it's giving me an enormous amount of data about my speed, about all sorts of how long my foot strikes the ground, how high up I go, how much side to side wobble is in my foot, right? So all sorts of data after the run. But what I really get is how much power I'm exerting, what my pace is, and it's all there in my Apple Watch while I'm running. But while I'm running, how do I do that and not lose my grip and my comfort? And I do that by running my Apple Watch through a headset, either a bone conductive headset like Aftershok's Air, or what I often wear so that my ears are still free, or I'll sometimes even run it through my Alexa, my Amazon Alexa unit, so that I touch my watch, which holds onto the handle briefly, and it will speak out loud in a way that's much more audible than what the watch sounds can give me. So that's how I'm able to track it real time. And then obviously I've got the data available afterwards. So that's how I get the data to keep me knowing, you know, what's my mileage, what's my pace. And the last thing I have to address is, right, how do you handle the mental fatigue of being on a treadmill that long? And I'm a big believer that if you stay at the same pace, same elevation, you're wearing the same ligaments, same muscles, and you're going to have a higher chance of wearing out. So I'm a big fan that you should, you know, change the elevation, change the pace, mix it up enough on long runs. And then mentally, I've got that Echo unit. I've got those headphones. I listen to an audiobook. I listen to podcasts, or I listen to music when I'm doing the hardest runs and I need a beat to help me pick up my pace. So it's a lot of things to throw at you, but that's how I was able to do, you know, it was 4.5 hours to do my 54K. So was quite a long time to be on a treadmill.
Yeah, that's really all great information, Randy. And I still don't know how you ran 33 miles on the treadmill. Definitely something that I admire and hope to do one day. And so I know you have the Stride Pod, and so can you talk a bit about how that works with the treadmill?
Sure. So the Stride is on my shoe, so it's connecting into my Apple Watch by Bluetooth. So really, it's not connected to the treadmill at all, right? It's just knowing my distance. Every time my foot is moving, it's measuring that distance. And that Stride came calibrated, right? It runs off a GPS calibration of its own, but out of the box, its calibration was spot on from outside runs, pretty quick check, and that's what they generally find. If you need to calibrate it, it does have a little calibration you could, but they recommend don't calibrate it to match your treadmill because your treadmill is probably a little inaccurate. Better to assume your treadmill's giving you a lie about how far you're running and how fast you're running. You're probably running a little slower and a little less far than your treadmill's telling you.
Mm-hmm. And you found that it's pretty accurate though with the data that it does give you?
Tremendously accurate. And right, the comparison is when you get outside to see that, you find that data to be solid. And if I run, like, the longer I run at a steady speed, the more, like, my long runs that are for counting, like the Boston Marathon and the 54K, I kept a constant pace. So it got steadily more in match with the treadmill because by not stopping, that motor got nice and steady and comfortable with my pace. So it's only in the starting and stopping and the changing that a treadmill motor loses a little bit.
Okay.
And this data, that, right, you can see this compared. They've done a lot of scientific studies. They have the data out there of people running on a treadmill with the Stride. So, and then obviously you compare it to get it out on a track and run it, and you see how exact it is. It's very precise on the track.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for training purposes, do you find that the pod really helps you find that sweet spot for your pace, especially with your race paces and predicting that?
So better than pace, it works off power, kind of like a cyclist does, right? So pace is kind of your end result based on a lot of factors. Power is what you're actually doing. Like when you run up a hill, your heart rate is going to change as you've been on the hill for a while. The foot pod is going to detect the elevation, detect the wind, detect the temperature. It knows what your heart rate is, but it doesn't care. It's determining how much power you're putting out at any point. So it's trying to find the ideal power for you, and its predictions on that are tremendous. And I picked up about 1.5 minutes on my speed for a marathon over the course of this year, and I give a fair bit of that credit to what the Stride has helped me do.
Wow. Yeah. And I think with those power metrics, it's very similar to cycling, and I think it's a really great way to really hone into where you are instead of just relying on your pace and how you're feeling that day. So that's good. So does anyone have any questions for Randy or any comments about what he just said? And if you do, just unmute yourself, which is Alt-A, and just say your name and we can address it.
Yes, Khaled here.
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, hi Randy. I have a couple of questions. First of all, brilliant effort in the 52-kilometer run. And just for anyone interested in strides, they have an offer till the end of the month for Black Friday. It's $20 off. So if anyone want to invest in a new unit. My question, I would like you to talk more about the iFit. I actually, for the last 2 weeks, I've been reading about different treadmills. And one of the things that caught my attention is using iFit. And one of the thing I would like you to clarify, are you able to customize your workout? For example, say I want 12 minutes warm up at speed of such and such 6.5 mile, then 10 times 60 seconds at the pace of 12 mile an hour, and then 1 minute rest. Will it
Sure.
do that for you?
So I have that question, and that
And
is not done by iFit, but that is a programmable feature of the particular treadmill I have, right? You can make programs in it. iFit is actually a program that says, hey, we have these pre-loaded workouts. Sometimes there's a video associated with a guide runner who's going to be taking you on scenic tours all over the world, really, including some epic races and including just some training runs. And they give you training tidbits. Sometimes they describe the scenery and tell you the history, but they're not intending it as a sight impaired tour. Some of them are really pretty good at it, but those runs are at pace and elevation that match the geography. And you can overrule any of those, but once you do, you've overruled either the elevation or the speed. And in order to get back to either of those, they can run independently. You have to hit a touch point on the screen, which means you either need sight or you need to bring up a program to have somebody help you find that spot, or enough sight to be able to find that button. So that's a disadvantage to the iFit. But the program you're talking about, it is possible in my treadmill. I haven't worked with the creation program because it's very map based, so not what I would call accessible. But if I bribe my wife, she has made a series of programs for me to do that very thing. But again, then you have to bribe, whoever you're getting to help you on that. Are there pre-mades that already exist at some of those levels? Yes, but to make it perfectly customized, you'd probably need sighted assistance. Some treadmills may have better adaptive software. I haven't found one.
So this is Erwin. I just want to add a comment about that. I also use the Stride pod, and they just came out with different training plans. And they have an offer for free until like next summer, I think. But you can choose all kinds of plans like half marathon or marathon, and they give you a daily workout. You can just like sign up for it, and then you can download on your Apple Watch those workouts, and they'll tell you like how much time you need to run at certain power, and it's pretty cool. And it does the laps for you and everything. All you have to do is just look at the times.
Oh, that's great, Erwin. And so is it based on the metrics that they have for you, the data they have based on power, power output that you've already done?
Yeah, I think so. It's based on historical data. They can suggest.
It absolutely is. And just as a heads up, they so I'm in their beta software programming because they are aware their accessibility is good, not great, and they're trying to improve it because a lot of it is graphical on the Stride. So that's separate than the iFit. And they are really trying to make an effort to fix that. I would say their effort is a B- grade.
Okay. That's good.
what about if you are in a race and you want to run like 300 watt speed? If you go above that or below that, are you able to follow while you are in a race?
Very much so. The way you could do that, there's a couple of different ways. First off, if I wear the bone conductive headphones, just to tap on my watch, I can have it so that it will always tell me the power every time I touch my watch. But similarly, you can set it to have tactile reminders, so it'll tap you if you get out of the range. So let's say you set it to 300 watts, which is a pretty high amount of power. If you get to 320, you can tell it what you want. At 320, tap me. So if you feel a tap, then you'd know to check and see where you are. Or if you got conversely to 280 or whatever. So it's got good control over that.
Yeah, good to know.
There's even a way to set it so that, and obviously I don't use this feature, but if you put your power in the forefront, it will glow red if you're out of spec and green if you're in the range of your power.
Yeah, that's cool. We have any other questions or comments for Randy?
It's Kim, and I have a quick question, whether it's for Randy or maybe some of the others that speak later. But you talked a little bit about how to adapt the treadmill so that you can keep your arm movement going, but still maintain some contact with the treadmill.
Yep.
And I've done that with ones at the gym I go to where I could sort of slide my hand along the side rail. I've recently bought a treadmill, and unfortunately the arms are a little bit too short to do that. So I'm wondering if anybody has, or if you have suggestions of, I was thinking about trying to attach a either low resistance bands to the front handles that I could use to to just sort of maintain some contact, but haven't figured that out yet.
So does it have side rails that you can use at all? They're just short, is
Yeah.
that accurate?
Yeah, so
So
I
what-
right now have been just putting my hand on one side rail while I run.
So what if you took that side rail and you used a little bungee cord and attached in 2 points a piece of PVC, so that would extend a hard rail that's not enough to hold your weight, but you don't want that. You want it for
Right.
balance and orientation. Now
Right.
you have a long rail that's
Okay.
thin enough to wrap your hand
Yeah.
around.
Just got to figure out how to attach it, but okay.
So I would think
Yeah.
2 bungee cords tight around off the short rail that you already have.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
This is Lois Butterfield, and I wanted to tell you about my adaptation that I've done to my treadmill, which is I attached a resistance band, kind of a light one, to kind of around the front where, it's kind of hard to explain, but like underneath the speaker area, so that I put that around my waist when I run, and that way I can stay where I want to be and still move my arms naturally.
Okay.
That's worked for me until I forgot to have the key on one time, and I fell,
Oh,
and I
gee.
couldn't get off because the band was holding me there. So that was kind of crazy, but I learned my lesson.
Yeah, but it sounds like a good adaptation that you've found. Good ingenuity
It works
there.
pretty well, yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also use the Stride, and I also use iFit. So it's kind of cool that other people are doing that too.
Yeah, all good stuff. So I want to transition now to Jesse Brennan. Jesse, if you want to talk about your experience.
Sure. So my speech might be a little shorter just because Randy already touched on some of it. Thanks, Randy. So yeah, I'm a Stride user too, which I find a lot of benefit on the treadmill. A lot of differences between Randy and I. We have totally different treadmills. So my treadmill is not very, it doesn't have a touch screen at all on it. And so it only has buttons. And so one thing that's cool that I really like and that I found a lot of use with is, yeah, it has long arm rails, but then it also has, on the front of it, it has the place where you would hold to get your heart rate tested and stuff. It's pretty ergonomic to how you would have your hands naturally. And on the top of those are little dials. And so you can adjust the incline and pace right from there, which is nice. That's one of their big features that they talk about. And then on the side, so on the right side, there's buttons that range from 1 through 12. So you can just hit the button. It's a tactile button that you can hit to change the speed. And then on the left side is the same for the incline and decline. So I don't really need sighted assistance at all. I should add that I do have a little bit of usable vision, so sometimes that does help, but really you don't need vision to use the treadmill. And there's programs on the treadmill. Honestly, I just do manual just because I like doing my own thing. And so it doesn't, probably the biggest drawback for some would be that it doesn't actually connect to iFit. It doesn't communicate with it. But I just use, if I do a guided workout, I just use the Peloton app. And I have to adjust the treadmill myself, but like Randy said, if you're using iFit and you want to modify the program that it's in, it sort of falls off. You have to then modify it forever in the workout unless you hit a button to go back. So for me, the Peloton is just easier anyway. I can sort of do my own thing. I also listen to music. I have kind of an eclectic taste of running music, but so I do that. I have not gotten into the podcast and stuff. I feel like that would put me to sleep. I don't know how you do it, Randy. But I also, the longest run I've done on a treadmill is 10 miles. So hats off to you. And so, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Jesse, are you able to tell during your workout when especially when it's a manual activity, what your pace is, what your speed is and everything like that?
Well, so again, I use Stride. So I do what Randy does with the watch and the headphones, or
Okay.
I actually have gotten in the habit of running Stride from my phone and having it announce every mile, like what my power and pace and stuff was, just so then it sort of keeps me on the right track of like, you know, I'm slacking or I'm staying consistent or whatever. I've sort of liked it just automatically announcing, and then, you know, if it announces I hit 6 miles and that's my goal, then I would just stop. So I don't pay attention at all to the pace and stuff on the treadmill.
Okay, good to know. We have any questions for Jesse? All right, and Deb, are you here?
I am here. Sorry, I had my mute on.
Oh, no problem.
I want to talk about my adaptation that I've created for the treadmill, and it's probably what I've heard from other people speaking tonight, a combination of what they've been using. But I myself can see my background is I'm a high performing athlete myself and a guide runner, and I started developing tethers and running devices to help visually impaired people run with their guide runner and run independently and start using the treadmill. And what I developed a device that allows you to run with your arms freely, with a belt hookup system that keeps you in the treadmill itself. Now, it's meant to help keep you centered. It's not like a fail-safe. You can still fall on it, and that's why I want to talk to people before they're using it. But what it is, and for those that can see, will be able to see it, is it's first of all, it's a belt that's adjustable. I'm not able to see myself, so I'm not. Okay, so it's a belt that has a quick lock adjusting. And what I've done is I've put 2 D clips, and a D clip is a clip that looks like a D. So the flat part resides next to your body, and the round part is away from your body. And these D clips allow movement of the bungee that's going to attach to your treadmill. So I have a bungee type system with clips that will go around at the top of your treadmill, around the arms of it. So it keeps you centered in the treadmill while you're running. And you clip it on, and it's 2 clips. So you clip yourself into the treadmill, and it allows you free arm movement. I know a lot of you can't see, so please ask me questions if I'm not explaining this clearly.
So just quick question, is that centered front to back and left to right?
It's centered on sideways, left to right. You really cannot do a front to back because of stride length. And I found that this system was best for almost any level of runner, from beginning to an experienced runner, to if you've recently lost your sight or if you've been visually impaired all your life. The biggest problem is balance on a treadmill and getting used to it. And the problem with constantly having to touch the side of the railing is that you're going to eventually develop back problems and hip problems because your hips are not remaining straight as you're running, if that makes sense to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to have shoulder problems if you're especially, you know, heavy-handed on the, like say right-handed, and that's the side you want to grab on. Your shoulder's going to hurt, and then your knee will start hurting eventually. So this system allows you to run, you know, as you would outside.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, I think as a blind runner, I found that at least early on, I was drifting from left to right. So this device would account for that.
It keeps
that kind of movement.
It keeps you from drifting. Now, what I have,
Okay.
what I developed, and everything's going to depend on the type of treadmill you have, the type of runner you are, and your leg strength, stride length. What I have is these are bungee units with clips, and these are 36 inches. So by the time you loop it around and you're centered in, it allows you enough range that you can drift on the treadmill and not drift off of the treadmill.
Mm.
Did anyone have questions on that?
Yeah, it's Kim again. I'm just trying to picture, and I don't have vision, so I'm trying to picture how you connect the bungees to the treadmill.
Well, first of all, it's not just bungees, but it's bungees with the clip mechanism. On both ends of the bungees have clip mechanisms. Okay, so those clip mechanisms are gonna, you're gonna have 2 bungees and a total of 4 clip mechanisms. There's 2 clips for each D clip. Okay, so one of the D clip is on your waist. Gonna loop the other around the top of the treadmill. Around it, it's gonna usually be the fork that holds the railing and your board to the treadmill. So it clips around it, so it really locks you in place. And now you can adjust the length of your bungees depending on how.
Sorry, where around the front of the treadmill? I'm really kind of lost on that.
If you're standing on your treadmill, and most treadmills have the display in front of you where you can touch, and then it has side railings.
Yep.
Okay. On the side railings attached to the bottom of the treadmill, there's like a fork that comes down.
Okay.
You know, your side railings have to attach to something to the bottom of the treadmill, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's the frame. Okay.
Frame. So you're gonna loop one bungee cord, say around the right side of the frame, and loop it back through the railing and clip on, and do exactly the same thing to the other side.
Are you guys talking about, you know, as a device to stay on the treadmill?
Yeah. So this keeps you centered.
Yeah, I got a perfect one that a person gave me. If I find the name of it, I can message you.
Okay.
I can sprint on the treadmill, and I could not walk. But the good thing is I can use my arms actually and get a good stride before I had to hold on to the railing, which
that's what this system, you don't have to use the railing. It's completely arm free. So
it's amazing.
Natural way to run on the treadmill. And
you get your stride.
When I start teaching people how to use a treadmill, I also start them with a metronome and it's an app, you know, a simple free app that you can download to your phone. Because what can become a problem is if you're new to running, you know, the imperfect things about a treadmill is that as you put your foot down, the belt is sliding back. Okay, so it's very easy to become uneven in your running stride. But if you can turn on a metronome and set it so the beat is on each footstep, you get that audible sensation of, okay, I am keeping the beat. Because once you start slipping, you know, not keeping your foot on that beat, that's when you're going to fall off the treadmill.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And so Deb, to your knowledge, this device can be affixed to most treadmills?
Most treadmills, and you know, the total, you know, the cost for this belting system, I think I had it for like $55.
Okay.
So it's pretty affordable. And of course you can make your own. The things with my belt mechanisms, my bungee cords are manufactured and the clips are put on by a sport manufacturing company. So they're not gonna break. Versus trying to put one together yourself, because in between the clip and the bungee cord, I have another mechanism that is a fabric system that interlocks to the bungee. So it's not just that it's tying to the clip. There's an actual a fixture. I don't know if people can see if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
This is Tony. I have a question.
Go ahead, Tony.
Is that something that can be taken to the gym once it opens, or is it hard to take on and off?
No, it's very easy to take on and off because it's all clips. I mean, you can put it on a treadmill in less than 20 seconds and take it off in 20 seconds. So it's something that you take with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is Dee.
Go ahead, Dee.
I am not a runner at all. I am primarily a walker on the treadmill. And the only reason why I don't run on the treadmill is because I don't walk straight. So when I'm on a treadmill and I hit that 4 miles an hour, even though that's extremely slow for you guys, but that's a little bit too fast for me, I have got to hold on to the railings, or mentally I think I'm going to fall. And I've never fallen before, but I'm always afraid of that I'm going to fall on that treadmill. Can you give me some tips on at least walking straight in order to prepare to at least get faster in the speed on my treadmill? Because my treadmill is really, I've got dots everywhere. I have 1 through 10 for the speed and 1 through 10 for the incline on my treadmill. But I'm always afraid that if I go faster than that 4 miles an hour, I know I'm going to fall, That's my fear.
Are you falling because your foot, as it's hitting the treadmill, your foot strike is different?
No, I don't even walk straight. Like even when I'm walking outside, it's always, I either veer to the right or I veer to the left. That's why I'm glad that I have sidewalks, because when I'm walking, I can walk to Family Dollar, which is 2 blocks down the street. But I have the grass on the left and a little bit of the curb on the right, so I can feel it. But if I'm on the street, because I don't have any sidewalks on my block, but when I get to the corner, there's sidewalks. But when I walk from my house, which is only two houses from the corner, I'm all over my whole street. I'm a little bit to the left, I'm a little bit to the right because I never walk straight. So I just automatically go to the left because I know
Yeah.
going to Family Dollar is to the left, and I just walk the curb.
So now, Dee, when you're on the treadmill, are you aware? Do you have an awareness of your shoulders being, lined up with the treadmill, so that they're forward and not at an angle? Because I think sometimes that just having that awareness of your shoulders being pointed forward can really help with staying, even with walking with a cane, just staying in line.
I never even noticed. And I've been blind for 38 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I've never even noticed it.
Yeah. Because
I need
I
to
mean,
pay attention to what I'm doing.
that honestly, when I first went blind, that was an issue I had with staying straight, and just having that awareness of keeping my shoulders pointed forward, and just being cognizant of that, I think really helped me stay at least straighter than what I was doing. So, maybe just something to consider. And then also, when walking on the treadmill, you can kind of swing your hands forward so they're making some contact with the treadmill, but not that constant contact with it. So you're aware of where you are, and just kind of having that presence. I found that to be helpful too.
Now that'll work too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
because I'm always gripping that doggone treadmill.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid. I'm like, and I'm on the older side too. So.
Chaz, 2 things to add on that.
Excuse me?
I said, Chaz, 2 things to add on that.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
So with the shoulders, head leads the shoulders. So keeping your head straight is an important part of that. When you turn your head, sooner or later, your shoulders are going to follow your head.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of that is, that's exactly what MABVI does, right? It's an orientation mobility, help you start to think about that. And sometimes it's a good time to think about wherever you are based. I don't know that, but maybe an O&M, just a quick little check on services might give you the tips to really help you get that straightening for regular walking, and that'll carry through to the treadmill.
Absolutely. Great point.
Yeah, that's a
if
good,
I could, that device that Deborah just showed us, where you strap it around your waist into the front treadmill bars, is a lifesaver, because I would even push the stop button when I wasn't wearing that, and the stop button slowly stops. It didn't immediately stop, or I would push down, and I thought I wouldn't know I was moving backwards, and I would treadmill. I thought it had stopped, but I was moving without knowing it. But that thing that Deborah showed us is amazing to keep you in a straight line.
Yeah. Could be
I
dangerous.
couldn't walk in a straight line.
Right.
I didn't know where I was on the treadmill, kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's a good way to keep yourself aware of where you are, and especially when the speeds start to slow down, you might lose track of where you are, and before you know it, you're off the back of it. I'm not sure if Luann Burke is here, but I know that she was planning on joining, but was also commuting too. So I just didn't know if she was able to join and could add some to this as well.
Chad, she did not. Well, Luann and I are typically in contact, and I haven't because she's been in the process of moving.
Okay.
But Luann has used this device that I have rigged up. She also likes to have the ability to hold the handrail, to reach out, to hold the handrail. It's hard enough just to find a treadmill that will work for whatever your visual impairment is. But I wish Luann was here to talk to you guys about it, her experience.
Yeah.
Can I just ask folks, partly for name recognition, but also, there's a lot of new folks on here, which is great, but to build our community and some name recognition, if folks feel comfortable, if you can just say your name, and then if you do feel comfortable, what part of the country you're from, that would be awesome. Thank you. And this is Kyle from MABV, sorry.
And my name is Dee Butler, and I live in Decatur, Georgia.
Nice.
Dark from
Thank you,
Tucson,
Dee.
Arizona.
Cool, thanks.
Tony, Dwayne, here in Los Angeles.
I'm Catherine. I'm from Rochester, New York.
Great.
Sorry, I meant when folks ask a question, you can, if you just want to say your name and where you're from.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so, you know, I know that people have all different levels of experience with the treadmill, and we've heard some great adaptations. And I was just wondering if anyone else that's attending tonight, if any of you have any anything to add, any tips, any tricks of using the treadmill that we haven't heard previously.
This is Ken from San Jose, California. I have one question, and then I have a suggestion too. My question is to Deb. On that device that you made, is it a quick release in case someone falls off the treadmill, or you stay attached to it?
Well, there's a quick release in the waist belt. Okay. And it snaps like that, and quick release is like this. So it can quick release off your waist.
Okay. Okay, and then my suggestion was, not everybody, I know not everybody has a treadmill at home to use. One of my suggestions is, when you first started going to the gym, a group of me and my vision impaired friends, and some are fully blind, we actually educated or talked to the workers there and the trainers, and they had dedicated 2 machines for us to use there that actually had, that we customized, put bump dots on it, where everybody be able to access it. So that's one thing you guys can do if you don't have a treadmill at home and you want to go to the gym. Just talk to them and, you know, educate them on what you need, and they're more than willing half the time to help you out and set the machine for you.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So you'll be able to use it. Yeah,
absolutely. Because I know that the gym can sometimes be daunting with all of the machines and not necessarily knowing how to use them, and they differ from fitness center to fitness center. So, you know, just really being able to have that line of communication with the workers. Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And then, you know, one thing I've also used especially when there's a larger display, touchscreen display, and this is without the use of the Stride Pod to get that data. But after the workout is over, typically your mileage and the pace and time that you were running will show up on the screen. And so there's an app that Microsoft made called Seeing AI, which is artificial intelligence that allows you to read what's on a screen or what's on a piece of paper. And I found that to be very helpful. Or alternatively, you could even just take a picture of where you think the screen is. And then you can run that through Seeing AI, and it'll give you those stats. So I think that's a little workaround that I found when you don't necessarily have access to those tools. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, it's Kim. I'm from Toronto, Canada. These are all really good suggestions. I ended up buying a treadmill because it had, and I specifically looked for one that had tactile buttons. I think it does have a bit of a touch screen, so I've got bumps on the quick start speeds for walking and running. And then on the side arms, it's got the up and down, incline and decline, and increase and decrease speed. So I kind of adjust with that. But I really just use either Strava has the ability to do indoor run, or I use the Apple Watch workout app, and I've been actually finding it to be, I think, reasonably accurate, if not accurate, consistent at least.
Yeah.
And I'm super slow, so I'm not necessarily worrying about race pace or anything. The downside I have about the watch is that when I'm sweating, I find it really hard to actually get the touch screen to work. So stopping the workout or checking things on the run is a little bit hard when you're sweating.
Yeah. And with the indoor running with Strava, that's using the Apple Watch too, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And if you don't have an Apple Watch, another app that I found, and I believe it costs a couple dollars for iOS on the iPhone, it's called Intervals. So it's just literally called Intervals. And so prior to your run, you can set Let's say you want to do 30 seconds on harder running and then 30 seconds slower. It'll beep every time. But then in addition to that, it will show you kind of, it's not completely accurate, but it's relatively accurate. It'll show you what pace you're running if you're able to hold that phone in your hand while doing, you know, your typical running motion with that arm. So I found it to be pretty accurate since I was able to compare, you know, what the data was on that with what the actual data was. So that's just, you know, another workaround if you don't have access to a watch or something along those lines.
Do you know any of the free apps that kind of do have those interval timers that I guess they tell you when it's been 30 seconds and then to go to, you know, your sprint or walk for a minute or then back to your 30-second sprint or walk?
I'm not entirely sure about free apps. I know this one might cost $2 or something like that, but I haven't found a really reliable free app that has those capabilities, but you know, I'm sure that they are out there.
And that
The
one's called interval?
Yeah, it's just called intervals. Yeah. So if you
The
just look that
interval
up
app
in
is free, but there is a pro version for $2.99.
there you go. There you go. Yep.
What did he say?
The
So
interval app is free, but there is a pro version with additional features that cost $2 something.
Yeah.
And is that on the watch too?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It works on Apple Watch as well.
Yeah. But it's a good alternative if you don't have an Apple Watch and just have an iPhone. You know, it's definitely something you can use. But the only downside is you would have to actually carry your phone in your hand while you're working out, which, you know, can be inhibiting and a little bit cumbersome too. So, but you know, you use what you have.
You can always wear headphones.
That's true too.
I know that. I don't like having earpiece in my ear. It feels like your ears need to breathe or something. The bone conductor headphone would be best, I think.
Yeah, those are good because it keeps your actual ears free. Yeah.
Chaz, this is Richard Hunter, Folsom, California. Can you run that interval app at the same time as another workout app, let's say a Strava, or is it that you're using your Apple Watch for one thing and then you're carrying your iPhone for the interval part?
So I've only done it with one or the other. I'm sure you could technically do that if you somehow were able to pair, you know, one of your, you know, let's say you had AirPods and you paired one AirPod with the Apple Watch, one with the phone. It you know, conceivably would be possible to do that, but you know, I either use the interval app when I'm really focusing on intervals on the treadmill, which I don't do that too often, but you know, it does work. But you know, that I could do with either the Apple Watch or the iPhone, just depending on, you know, what I have that day.
Yes, I'd like to add, you can use both, but there is an option in the interval app, disable tracking. If you disable tracking, then you can use your workout in Apple Watch or use Strava or any other app to track. So you can use the interval just for the feedback, for the interval feedback, just to alert you. But you need to disable the tracking if you want to use another app.
Yeah, that's something I didn't even know. So that's very, very good information.
Yeah, when you create a new interval, there is a check, like on and off checkbox for disable tracking or keep tracking. So you disable that if you want to use another app to track your run.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Khaled. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I'd like to ask if anyone used GymKit that work with the Apple Watch. Anyone has experience using GymKit and how it works?
GymKit?
The GymKit, the Apple interface that pair with treadmills and other I know Life Fitness Matrix, they have support for that, but I haven't been able to use or to come across a new treadmill to use to test the gym kit.
So that will pair with Life Fitness.
With the Apple, will pair with the Apple Watch directly. Yeah. I think there is a QR code. It will pair directly, so it will mirror what comes on the display.
I see. Okay.
But I haven't used it. I just read about it. I didn't have the chance to see any new treadmill that has that feature.
That's interesting. Hi everybody, this is Erwin from the DC area. Just wanted to share, since you were talking about intervals, I use also a combination of the Street Pod with Garmin watch, and I know Garmin is not very accessible, but I have some usual vision, so I set up alerts on Garmin and I connect some AirPods ear bone conduction headphones to it. So you can configure any type of alerts if you wanted to go by distance, let's say 400 meters, or if you want to do it by time, you can set that up as well. And it's really convenient because it's all hands-free. Whereas the Apple Watch, I probably would have to be tapping my watch all the time to look at the distance. But yeah, I find that pretty useful to set up alerts on the Garmin watch too with the Stride Pod and the treadmill.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Rod, and I have a Woodway
So
treadmill.
one more thing on that, you can get a similar function if you use the app iSmooth Run on your Apple Watch. You can get all of the intervals spoken out. You can get all the mileage pacing at whatever time you want. So, and still use the Stride on the Apple Watch.
Definitely. Was someone else speaking there in the background?
This is Rod. I don't know if you're able to hear me. Are you able
Yeah,
to hear
we
me?
can hear you.
Oh, okay. I had problems before with my settings, I think. About a month ago, I recently purchased a Woodway treadmill. I've been saving up quite a while for one of those, and they're quite expensive, but they have really nice buttons with very nice feel to them. And the way I use it, I haven't done the programs yet because I haven't had it long enough, but you can pair your Apple Watch to the treadmill, and then it will keep track of your workout. And when you're all done and you press the stop button, it sends it to the Apple Activity app. And then in order to monitor my workout, because I don't want to be tapping my watch all the time, I have an Android phone, and on there I use the Wahoo app, and every minute I have it announce the elapsed time and my heart rate, which is determined by a Rhythm Plus I also wear on my wrist. So I have two. I have the Apple Watch and a Rhythm Plus, and that way I get a feeling for how hard I'm working out, and I can easily adjust the pace and the incline with the buttons on the treadmill. They're easily accessible, and unlike the Matrix treadmills that I used to use at the Y, I don't have any problems of leaning into the treadmill and hitting the panic button or whatever you want to call it and stopping the treadmill. So far, it has been really worth the money. It has treads on it that feel like tires, so it's really easy on the knees. But again, they're very expensive. But for anybody who can afford to save up the money for one of those, you know, if you're really into that kind of stuff, I think they're worth it.
Yeah, the very high end treadmill, but you know, solid, very solid.
What was the name of that treadmill again? This is D?
It's called Woodway.
Woodway.
W-O-O-D-W-A-Y.
Okay, thank you.
They delivered mine and set it up. Now I was fortunate in that they're down by Milwaukee, and I'm maybe 100 miles away. So it probably cost me, I think it cost me, was it 500 or 600 to set it up probably, and they delivered it and set it up. I don't know how they do it in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
You do have to have special wiring. Maybe it's like that with all the higher end treadmills. So so that you have one of those 3-prong outlets where the outlet is on an angle so that you can't plug more than one electrical device into a outlet.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, so I want to thank all of you for joining tonight, and you really gave us some valuable insight as to how you all have very unique experiences as to how you use the treadmill and adapt to some barriers that we have and that we face when using fitness equipment. And so, if anyone wants to learn more, we certainly can send information to you. And, for the people that talk tonight, we can send contact information, for Deb with the belt system, and, Randy, if Randy would be willing to answer some questions as well. And then also, Kyle, if you want to give the contact information for questions for United in Stride.
Sure. So folks want to reach out to United in Stride. The easiest thing to do is you can just email the info@unitedinstride.com, and that email address goes to me, and I check it pretty regularly. Also, Chaz may mention it, but like we do for these events, folks are welcome to hang out after we kind of finish the official piece of it to chit chat. But also, Chaz and I have been talking about, trying to do these types of events either monthly or possibly every other month. So part of that conversation after this, the informal piece, would be awesome to hear if there are additional topics that you'd like for us to try to organize around, or shoot one of us an email as well. And I also want to give a special thank you to Chaz for pulling together this program and reaching out to all the speakers and coordinating all of the logistics to this piece as well. We're thrilled to have him on board as part of the United in Stride team.
Yeah, and I think it's great that we are able to unite so many people from in the United States, but even internationally as well. So I really want to thank you all for joining, and if you want to stay on for a few more minutes and chat, definitely going to be around for that. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Are these meetings recorded?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we did record this, and we'll likely have it up on YouTube, which would be on the United in Stride website shortly. And so we just have to kind of edit a few things and shorten it a little bit, but we do have it recorded. Yeah.
Thank you.